So in this situation, yes, I can do the deal because I can pay a loan, use the profit from the business, which in $13,430, and I still have some cash flow remaining to pay for myself, to pay for to grow the company, to do other things. So in this situation, the math works for this business right here. So that's the first thing you want to evaluate. Will the math work? And if the math will work, then potentially I can buy this business. Now, there's a whole bunch of other due diligence that we haven't talked about and we don't have time to talk about today, but I want to show you the deal structure first as the first step to using acquisition as a growth model. So this is a yes. But now I also, remember I said, we're going to do it to where there's zero money out of your pocket. The SBA will loan up to about typically 80 to 90%. The SBA is not going to do 100%. So let's assume the SBA is willing to do 85% of the loan. The owner wants $949,000, but the SBA is going to do $807,000. In this situation, if the owner says, I want all of the money and I'm not willing to owner finance. So if you really want to do this deal, then you have to come out of pocket $142,000. And so if you do that, then the total to existing owner, right? So it would be E2 minus E3 minus E4 minus E5 minus E6. Oh, it's supposed to be plus. Yeah, my bad. Because I want to make sure that the math works out to where the total amount is exactly what the owner wants, right? Yep. So this matches the sale amount here. So this is you. This little area here is you. This is the cash that you need to put up. And our goal is to make it where it's zero from you. So how do we structure a deal where you come out of pocket zero? The first thing is you want to find a motivated owner that's willing to do owner financing. And I'm going to show you why they want to do that in a second. You convince the owner to do owner financing, meaning that they're going to extend a loan from them to you. Because the SBA says we're going to fund 85% of it. How you get the remaining of the money is up to you. Let's go with the first scenario. If the owner says, I would do 15% owner financing, then that means zero money out of your pocket. Some owners may not be willing to do 15%. Some owners might say, I'm willing to do 10%. If they're willing to do 10%, that means you have to come up with $47,000. Now, maybe the owner might say, I only want to do 5%. In that situation, you need to come up with $94,000. But let me share with you a way of where the owner can actually win and get more than $949,000 for their business. Let me show you another way of how you structure this here. So the owner keeps 10% equity in the company. And that means that of the money from the sale, they're going to put in $94,000 back into this deal here. So they're going to owner finance 5%, and you're going to pay them over 5 years for this 5%. The $47,000 will be over 5 years. The equity part, they keep 10% of the company. Typically, you want to do a 9% deal, and I'll tell you why in a second. So the owner will owner finance 6%. They will keep 9% of the company. And that's really all you want, is for them to keep 9%. If they keep more than that, there may be some other issues with it. And let me tell you, the main issue is any owner that owns 10% or more. Let's assume this is not an 8A company. And in the future, you want to go and get your 8A. Anyone that owns 10% creates complexity for you getting your 8A. If it's 9% or less, the SBA will never ask for the financials and the net worth of the existing owners. So of the 9% equity owner. So you want to deal about 9% to the existing owner. They owner finance 6%. This means zero money out of your pocket. But here's why the owner wants to do that. And this is part of the reason of what you have to convince them to do is this here. Let's assume they're currently doing about the revenue, right? If we come back to their revenue, they're doing $948,000 in revenue. If we come back, I'm coming in, help me structure the deal where the SBA is going to fund the deal. You get money, and by retaining equity in the company, as I grow out the company, you're going to get additional value down the road as I grow the company. So here's what this looks like. You take $1 million company and you grow to $10 million in new revenue. Now, the owner, by keeping 9% equity in the business, they sold their company to you for $949,000, and then they get an additional $900,000 of future value whenever you sell your company, or at some point in the future, they can say, hey, buy out my 9% because I gave you a super friendly deal so that you can buy the business when you came into the company. Now that it's worth $10 million, I'd like for you to buy the company back. So 10%. Now, again, I just did it based upon revenue, but the value of a company can be valued many different ways. And but 10% is potentially $900,000 of value. So instead of getting $949,000, they get $1.9 million for their company. They sold it to you, and then they get to sell it again twice for additional value at a future date. So these are how you do a deal structure, right? The owner has to be motivated. The owner has to be willing to be a little bit more flexible in terms of deal structure. Now, again, if the owner doesn't want to keep equity, right? Because some owners, they're like, hey, I'm done. I don't want to do anything. Then what you have to do is you have to structure where 15% owner financing comes from them. If the SBA is willing to do 90%, then they only need to do 10%. And in that situation, there's still zero money out of your pocket. So this is deal flow. How you structure a deal so that it's minimal money out of your pocket. Now, there's still some money you have to put into this. You have to pay for an attorney to review the agreement. You still have to pay a CPA to review the financials to make sure that just because they gave you audited financials, most small companies are not going to have audited financials, but they work with a broker or they work with a CPA to prepare financials for you to review. Don't take their words for it, right? You need a CPA to review the financials with you. So that's so there may be some additional costs, a few $1,000s out of your pocket to hire an attorney to review the document and hire a CPA to review the financials. If you're very good with financials and you have a long history of understanding contracts, it could be where you don't need someone to do that for you. So I'm going to show you some of the awesome resources I gave you here. In fact, I will put this here. If you go to this link here, you have access to all this here. So what I did was I put in here some funding resources for minority-owned business. So you can just click on some of these here. You want to build your credit. Let's talk about if you need money for contracts. Let's look at 25 VCs, bridging the gender and ethnic gap for startups. All right, so this is one resource here. If you are a minority-owned business, these are financial resources for you. If you're there's some other options down here. So let's look at a list of angel investors where you need no warm introduction. These are angel investors. Now, if you are buying a business, angel investors may not necessarily be your best option, right? Once you review them and they are interested as in business acquisition, then yes. But many angel investors, they don't do business acquisition. They invest in startups so that it can scale to 200, 300, 400%. So just check out these lists of companies here. So these are resources for you guys. Now, not all of the links work, but let's talk about microloans a little bit here. So if you are a really small business, you can use microloans to help you. You can use microloans to grow your existing company. And ACE is a very good resource for that. They do millions and millions of funding. Now, typical microloans is up to 50,000. So microloans is up to 50,000. Now, I'm going to share with you a secret resource that I use to start one of my business. It's called prosper.com. Now, prosper.com is not a business loan resource. So you're not going to come to Prosper and say, hey, I want a business loan. They don't do business loans. But what they will do is they will do personal loans. And with personal loans, you can use this personal money. You can use it to do whatever you want with it. So you come in here. Well, let me tell you the story first. So I shared with you earlier that I was in real estate. Well, real estate market died, and we went through a really tough time financially because we had millions of assets. We were building communities, we had spec homes, we were flipping houses, we had all these different things going on. But when the real estate market died, our financial resources and income revenue. In that process, I was ready to rebuild. And I said, do I go to an investor, or how do I get money to rebuild a new business? Well, I went to prosper.com. It takes 5 minutes. If you're looking for a personal loan, Prosper will tell you. And it's done mainly based upon your credit score, and your credit history. That's it. And you can get a loan, a personal loan, up to $50,000. Let me tell you guys that when I applied for my Prosper loan, I had bad credit because we went through all the financial challenges through the real estate market there. My credit score was about 620. Prosper gave me a loan for $10,000, and that's what I used to build my next business.